John here, back again with another review, and today we're going to talk about and review Planes, Trains, and Automobiles, the 1987 classic. And this is for Wild Man Beyond. Thank you for the request. But this is definitely one of my favorite comedies. It's one of my favorite films, thinking about it in general. Like, if I gave you a top 50 to 100 of my favorite movies, I think this film would definitely be in there. I don't know what place, but again, this is not only one of my favorite comedies, it's one of my favorite movies. But let's get to the plot of the film. But the plot here, you have Steve Martin in the film, who's his character Neil Page. He's a marketing executive, and he's eager to get home to Chicago in time for Thanksgiving. Long story short, his flight is diverted to Wichita, and along the way, he meets this good-natured shower curtain ring salesman, Dale Griffith, who is played by John Candy. And they're both trying to get to Chicago, and they decide to travel together. And from there, you get ups and downs, you get all types of shenanigans, on their journey, and that's the plot to the film. Directed by and written by John Hughes, who by this point had directed 16 Candles, The Breakfast Club, Ferris Bueller's Day Off, Weird Science. He would go on to work with John Candy again, directing Uncle Buck. Before that, She's Having a Baby. And, John Hughes is sadly missed. I think about all the comedies, that he could have done. I mean, of course, we all know he did Curly Sue, and, that kind of hurt things in regards to his career. But, I mean, it's just sad that we don't have a John Hughes now. I mean, we don't have that type of director. He still could have made a lot more comedies. But the few comedies that we did get are classics. I just named them off. I mean, Ferris Bueller's Day Off is another favorite of mine. Weird Science is a great movie. The Breakfast Club is a classic. Uncle Buck, can't go wrong with that. That's a film that I grew up with. I'm a big John Candy fan anyways. But John Hughes, and I'll talk, kind of give my thoughts towards the end, but the cast here, you got Steve Martin here as Neil Page. The character, is very jaded, cynic, not much of a conversationalist. And he tells John Candy's character that early on in the film. John Candy as Dale Griffith, very good-natured, sweet, kind-hearted. Maybe he doesn't have, or maybe he tries his best, despite not making the best decisions. And like I said, Steve Martin's character is very cynical, pessimistic, and in the beginning they don't really get along. And, throughout the film, it's very up and down, their companionship. But you have some other people here in the cast. You got Kevin Bacon early on in the picture as the guy that would race Steve Martin to get a taxi. Michael McKean later on playing the state trooper. Michael McKean, he was in Short Circuit 2 and so much more. Very recognizable actor. Dylan Baker as the character of Owen. I always remember that scene. But Dylan Baker, you've seen this guy before. He was Dr. Connors in Spider-Man 2. And in this film, he plays the character of Owen, the guy, the redneck with the tobacco. Eddie McClurg as the airport lady, where Steve Martin goes off, dropping like 30 F-bombs and, that whole rant. Eddie McClurg, she was in Ferris Bueller's Day Off. So a great cast here. But the heart of this film is the chemistry between our two characters. These are two characters that, for the first half of the film, you could say 3/4 of the film here, they don't get along at all. Again, Steve Martin, his character is very jaded, cynical, He just wants to get home. He wants nothing to do with this guy, John Candy. He's good-natured. He's a sweet guy. Sometimes his decisions, they go sideways or not according to plan. So, again, for the first half of the film to three-quarters of the film, they just don't get along at all. But you can see a friendship starting to develop. And there's a lot of iconic scenes of humor. We all remember, those aren't pillows. The scenes where they're on the bus and, John Candy is singing the Flintstones. Neil's F-bomb rant at the airport. The scene where, they're driving on the, they're going the wrong way. How would he know? Oh, he's drunk. And, the car catches on fire. But there's also, scenes of drama. And, John Candy's performance, really, it just shows that, John Candy, really could have done drama. But there's some elements of drama here. His moment with Neil Page in the hotel room, where he says, "I'm the real article. What you see is what you get." And then at the end of the film, you find out about why, what happened to John Candy's wife. And I thought the tones of the film were well balanced. And the humor, it was not juvenile. I thought the humor was natural. And the comedy blended well with the drama. It had its heartfelt moments. And it's a perfect road movie. It's a great road movie that also conveys the chaos of traveling. And, trying to get home and things don't work out, so you have to use other ways to get home. Hence the title of the film, Planes, Trains, and Automobiles. And you can tell as well with this film that there's more scenes there. Because the original cut of this film is 3 hours and 40 minutes. Over 600,000 feet of film was shot. And I think if you watch some of the trailer, there's some scenes there that were not in the film. And I think, if I had to guess by now, a lot of that material is deteriorated in a vault somewhere. But man, I would love to see that original cut. I would love to see that 3 hour plus version of this film. Even if some of the scenes may not have flowed well, or I can understand, cutting a lot of stuff out to, make this an hour and 30, 40 minute comedy. But I would love to have seen, for one example, there's a mention of John Candy's character ordering pizza. But it's not shown in the film, and that's just one example. So you could definitely tell there's some stuff that was cut from the movie. But, yeah, like I said, this is definitely one of my favorite films. It's a great comedy, it's a classic, but it's one of my favorite films in general. So, yeah, I think I talked about quite a bit here, and, I have to mention the ending of the film. It tugs at your heartstrings, and you got the moment where it has a freeze frame on John Candy, and I just miss John Candy a lot. I wish the guy was still here. Passed away way too early, and he had a lot more to give. What he gave us with this film and Uncle Buck and The Great Outdoors, Summer Rental, Spaceballs, a lot of great comedies. But, yeah, John Candy is definitely missed here. And my overall thoughts, and at the end of the day, Planes, Trains, and Automobiles is a heartwarming comedy with wonderful chemistry between Steve Martin and John Candy, beautifully directed and written by John Hughes. And overall, it's a classic. And out of 10, for me, I'm going to give this film a 10 out of 10. But thank you for watching, and take care.